Morning. We will recite the incense offering right now. In gratitude, we offer this incense throughout space and time for all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. May it be fragrant as earth herself, reflecting careful efforts, wholehearted awareness, and heart understanding, slowly ripening. May we and all beings be companions of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. May we awaken from forgetfulness and recognize our true home. If you will stand and turn to page 7, I think, we will recite our refuge vow. I go for refuge to Buddha, my deeply awakened mind, the living source of understanding and compassion, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go for refuge to Dharma, the path of mindful living, leading to healing, joy, and enlightenment, the way of peace, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go for refuge to the Sangha, the loving and supportive community of practice, realizing harmony, awareness, and liberation, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I am aware that the 3 jewels are within my heart. I vow to realize them. I vow to understand living beings and their suffering. I vow to cultivate loving kindness and compassion, and to practice joy and equanimity. I vow to live simply and sanely, content with few possessions, and to keep my body healthy. I vow to let go of all worry and anxiety in order to be light and free. I am aware that I owe so much to my parents, teachers, friends, and all beings. I vow to be worthy of their trust, to practice wholeheartedly, so that understanding and compassion will flower, and I can help all beings be freed from their suffering. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. Please. No, not you. Baby mom. Please, you're welcome. Always. Over the next page is the Heart Sutra, and we do the title at the beginning and the end. Dhamma prajna paramita Hridaya Sutra. The Bodhisattva of great compassion from the deep practice of prajna, paramita, perceived the emptiness of all 5 skandhas and delivered all beings from their suffering. O Shariputra, form is no other than emptiness, emptiness no other than form, form is emptiness, emptiness form. The same is true of feeling, thought, impulse, and consciousness. O Shariputra, all dharmas are empty. They are not born nor annihilated. They are not defiled nor immaculate. They do not increase nor decrease. So in emptiness, no form, no feeling, no thought, no impulse, no consciousness, no eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, no form, sound, smell, taste, touch, or objects of mind, no realm of sight, no realm of consciousness, no ignorance, nor extinction of ignorance, no old age and death, nor extinction of them, no suffering, no cause of suffering, no cease from suffering, no path to lead out of suffering, no knowledge, no attainment, no realization, for there is nothing to attain. The Bodhisattva holds on to nothing but prajna, paramita. Therefore the mind is clear of any delusive hindrance. Without hindrance there is no fear. Away from all perverted views, one reaches final nirvana. All Buddhas of past, present, and future, through faith in prajna, paramita, attain to the highest perfect enlightenment. Know then the prajna, paramita, is the great Dharani, the radiant, fearless mantra, the utmost supreme mantra, which is capable of allaying all pain. This is true beyond all doubt. Proclaim now the highest wisdom, the prajna, paramita. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhismaha. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhismaha. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhismaha. Dharma, prajna, paramita, hridaya, Sutra. Please be seated. Today being Easter, I did not expect anybody hardly here other than myself and Kaji Sue and you two. Anyway, there's a couple of things I want to explain before I start speaking. One is we have some new people here, and I want to explain some words in the Heart Sutra. This is the foundational sutra of our of this temple. The title itself, the Maha Prajnaparamita Hridaya Sutra. The Heart Sutra is a shortened version of that name. Maha means great. You've all heard the term Maharaja, the great king. So Maha means great. Prajnaparamita means the perfection of wisdom. And that's the wisdom that allows us, once we have experienced it, to look at something without the filters. I'm going to talk about me. So it allows me to look at something without the filter of my opinion, my belief, my want, my desire. Remember, I talked before about the bowls of clear water up here. That's the reality of the Prajnaparamita, to see things as they are, not as I think or want them to be. Hridaya is a Sanskrit word that means heart, and sutra is it means scripture, but originally it meant sewing, to hold something together. The word bodhisattva, within the Mahayana form of Buddhism, we are working to realize Buddhahood. And a bodhisattva is someone who has realized Buddhahood almost. They are standing on the threshold and they have made the decision, I'm going to stay and help everybody else. And that's what these represent, these golden statues and some of the other statues. Anything you see in here other than the Buddha is a bodhisattva, someone who made the choice to remain, to help other people. And as all things in our practice, you can take that literally or metaphorically. Shariputra. Shariputra was the Buddhist greatest student, disciple, follower, the most intelligent. And that's why she spoke to Shariputra. Another question which I've been asked is, why do we begin with 27 bells? There are two reasons. One is because it demarcates a special time. After the sounding of this bell, up until our closing, we are in a very special place and a very special time, a place of learning. The other reason is not so easy. The other reason is because it is 1/4 of 108. And 108 is very important in Buddhism, Hinduism, and Jainism. Why? I am not going to give you an answer because I have about 18 answers. So I suggest you Google, what is the significance of 108 in Buddhism? And you will probably get close to 108 different answers. I think what has happened is there was a reason or a couple of reasons for Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, and they may have gotten lost or wrapped up in other things along the way. My teacher used to tell me that the 1, 0, and 8, the 1 stood for the one Dharma, the 0 stood for no beginning and no ending, and the 8, and this is a stretch, I believe, but if you take that 8 and turn it on its side, it's a symbol of infinity. So Google it yourself and see what you come up with. I titled this talk today, The Art of Buddhism. And I did that. Well, before I get into that, I just want to, we are all probably from a Christian background, or we've lived in a Christian culture all our lives. So wish you all a happy Easter. And if you go off with family, may you have a happy day. This is, within the Christian tradition, a symbol of a time of new beginnings and light. And in Buddhism, light is very important. The main symbol of Buddhism is a lotus flower, a lotus blossom. And if you look around, you will see that, these 3 Buddhas are all sitting on a lotus. Kshitigarbha is sitting on a lotus flower. Avalokiteshvara is sitting on one. Quan Chi Yin is sitting on one, but I believe there's a dragon that's underneath that. Yeah, the dragon is there, then the lotus, and then Quan Chi Yin. And I apologize to, I apologize to people on YouTube. I just walked off the screen, didn't I? Anyway, the dragon in Buddhism is not like the dragon in the West. It is a symbol of fertility, of hope, of blessing, of peace. And that's why you see Kuan Shi Yin with it. She's also an aid to sailors and people on the sea. So she's often with the dragon. And the reason the lotus is the symbol of Buddhism, a lotus grows in a still, warm pond, in a pond that has muck, very deep. The lotus starts in that muck, and it comes up through the muck. The bud is here, the bud is here. And then it's only when that bud breaks through the water and gets into the sunlight, that's when it opens up. And that is a natural metaphor for us. We start in whatever our muck is, and that doesn't mean necessarily evil or bad, but whatever our darkness is. And we come up and we're working our way through everything. And once we reach the light, Prajnaparamita, we can open up to the light. Now, the reason I called this the art of the Buddhism, the art of Buddhism, is because of Red Pine. He wrote a commentary on the Heart Sutra, and at the very beginning, he writes, having studied the Heart Sutra for the past year, I would describe it as a work of art as much as religion. And perhaps it is one more proof, if any were needed, that distinguishing between these two callings is both artificial and unfortunate. Art is a creative act. And for an artist, even an artist, and anyone who here who plays the piano, who plays the guitar, who dances, who sings, who swims, who cooks, any form of art, and we all practice some form of art, knows that it is something we have to practice. Keep reminding ourselves of, keep doing. I was not born with some of the bad habits that I have now. And I have a few. I have a big sleeve here. I keep them all. And that is what I am trying. I felt my teacher standing behind me. Don't say trying. That is what my practice is, to help me let fall away these bad, negative, unwholesome habits, which I have acquired and which I have practiced at and become really good at. The one that comes to mind quickly, and I hate to even say this, and I've said it before, is that middle finger, when somebody on the highway does something which I think they should never have done. So there's that middle finger, sometimes followed by a word. And that was not something I'm proud of or how I want to live. I got rid of that. But it took practice, because it took me practice to do that. I wasn't born giving a driver the finger, but it's something I learned from my older brother, from friends, from whatever. And so we learn how to be, I keep saying you, I apologize. You may be an angel and a saint, I don't know. I have learned how to be other than wholesome, other than pure, other than sweet and nice, by practice. I have practiced being a punk. I have practiced being a pain in the you-know-what. So now, the last 20 years of my life, I've been practicing not to be those things. A young man who worked on some of the games, some of the most famous games out of Japan, and on some of the Godzilla movies and cartoons, wrote a book. And the name of that book was?
Don't Be a Jerk.
That is the perfect way to explain Buddhism. Don't be a jerk. And to whom, is that proper English? To whom am I a jerk? Or who am I a jerk to? Whatever. I can be a jerk to you. I can be a jerk to you. I can be a jerk to me. I can be a jerk
to my dog or to my car or to this robe. Treating anything, anybody or anything without respect is being a jerk. This is a Christian holiday today, and I am very active within the interfaith community. And in the interfaith community, I have discovered that the golden rule is part of every religious tradition I've ever come across. You treat others like you want to be treated. And there are a few people in this room who understand that I have stumbled in that regard. And so I practice not stumbling, but I'll stumble again. But we have to start over. We start over. And that's one of the joys of this practice. When I stumble, I get back up. There's an old Zen saying, you stumble 8 times, you stand up 9 times. Keep doing it. In the Dhammapada, in verse 183, and I want to get this exactly right, the wording. Of course, if you have a different translation, it's going to be a different wording, but avoid all evil. This is the Buddha explaining what Buddhism is. Avoid all evil, cultivate the good, purify your mind. This sums up the teachings of the Buddha. Avoiding evil is a practice. Doing the good is a practice. We just keep doing it and doing it and doing it. Meditation is a practice. And I know when I started, I couldn't sit still for 3 minutes. But I've learned to do that. And meditation is a perfect tool to help us. But it is a practice, so we have to keep practicing it. That's the way an art gets better. We just keep doing it. The 5 moral precepts: to respect and protect life, to respect and protect the property of others, to respect and protect sexual boundaries, to respect and protect the truth, and the 5th, to protect and respect my body and my mind. Those are the guides of our life as Buddhist practitioners. Now, we may formally vow to follow them, or we may just not, but still follow them in our own way. Those take practice. How do I respect life? How do I respect the truth? How do I respect someone's sexual sovereignty? I remember as a kid, there was always that thing, get another drink, get another drink. Well, is that respecting somebody if I get them sloshed? But it all takes practice. My default has gone from a sweet young baby to a young driver who flips people off, now to a person who wishes the best to the person who did something which I thought was unfortunate. See, I'm trying to be kind there with words. When we help someone, when we see someone stumble, again, that also takes practice. Sometimes we learn that this is not what they needed. They needed something else. Or they didn't need anything. They have to learn this on their own. Tough love. There are more parents in here than I. I'm not a parent, so I don't know, but you guys who are parents understand what to do. Sometimes the child needs correction and direction. Sometimes they need to learn on their own. And what I'm doing today are 2 shortened versions of Dharma talks, because I had a lot of questions about something else. Right now, any comments or questions about Buddhism as an art? Did you have something? Oh, okay. All right. The other thing I wanted to talk about, and I have always been resident about talking about this, and I always thought I couldn't because I took vows not to deal with money. That means here in the temple, I cannot take some money out of the Dharma box. Or if you were to hand me a donation, I would say go put it in the Dharma box, just for propriety and just so that I'm not tempted, you know? We are not to do that. But I have discovered that I can speak about this. And I'm going to, one of the things that I've been asked in the last couple of weeks a lot, because every other week, I think we have someone from every other week from the finance committee. Are you going to do it today? Okay. She's on the finance committee. She'll probably do that in a little bit. But they mentioned dana. And what is dana? Dana is a Pali and a Sanskrit word which means generosity. Now, when the Buddha created the monastic community, he gave them, the monks and nuns, very strict guidelines. You could not grow food. You cannot prepare your own food. You cannot store food. And he did that for a very specific reason. The monks are in meditation. The monks are studying. They are learning. Now the lay people are working. And remember, this is 2,500 years ago. We have to raise food to feed our children. We have to earn money to buy clothing for our children or grow the material to make the clothing. We have to supply a house, a home. The laity did not have time to sit in meditation or to sit in study. They had to feed and clothe their family. So the Buddha said, you, the monk, go to the laity and teach. And you, the laity, feed him. Give him medicine and give him clothes. Those are the three requisites that the laity were required to give to the monks. And the monks were required to give to the laity teaching. In Theravadan countries today, that's the Southern school, the monks are out with a bowl. You put some food in, they will give you a teaching. It may only be 3 or 4 sentences, but there's that spiritual exchange. And I'm uncomfortable with that word exchange, but that is what it is. Now, when Buddhism left India and made its way into China, in Buddhas in India, begging for food was, a religious person begging for food was totally accepted. In China, it was not so accepted. You fed your family, you earned a living. And so the monastics had to start a garden, build a monastery, feed themselves. Now, the Buddha had said, don't do these things. But he also said, let go of unimportant little rules. I'm looking at Gaji Su because he just reminded me of that a few weeks ago. Those things which don't work, which get in the way, let them go. Because what is the point of this practice? It is to become, no, it is to understand and realize we are Buddha. In the, a Buddha. In the Heart Sutra, there's a line that says there is nothing to attain. And that's because there is nothing to attain. You are Buddha now. You are Buddha. You are. I am. Except there's some stuff in the way. I've got to let the non-Buddha fall away. And that's the practice, to let all the, it's a good thing there's a baby here. Otherwise, I'd say BS. All the BS fall away, because that is what gets in our way. The nonsense, my ego. Remember I said Prajnaparamita is observing reality without the filters of our history and our belief. That's what we have to let settle. So when we see something, we see it, not my concept of what it is. There's a car accident. 2 people are involved, a man and a blonde woman. 10 years ago, I would have automatically said, well, it was a blonde woman who did it. It was her fault. That's a prejudice. That's bigotry. And I apologize to any blonde women in here. But that's what I'm talking about, letting that kind of nonsense fall away and just being that crystal clear water once again. Any questions or comments?
I let my emotions get in the way. My partner always told me that my emotions always stop me from growing and becoming who I'm supposed to be. So I'm learning to not let them get in the way and just let them be, because if I stop it, it's going to stop my growth. So I'm learning to just let it be and let it go. Sometimes I have hard days, really hard days.
And that's the
And
practice.
sometimes it's easy days.
Yeah.
But I know if I keep going and keep doing what I'm doing and trusting in myself, that I'll overcome it sometime.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I don't. It's kind of like a question, I guess. Is sometimes I see people violate these things that I do believe in strongly, and then I do react strongly to them. I feel it on the inside. Sometimes it does come out, especially about like respect for life and things like that. But then I find myself caught in this midst of like a little bit of a storm, or I kind of engage with that person in a negative way. So I guess it's like, how do I know, or what do I do, or what are some options I can choose to not go that route, or do I need to present it to them? When do I know, I guess, when, like you said, maybe they just need to learn on their own, or I get kind of confused about that. And I also get caught up in the emotions sometimes, especially when I try to see them, especially so much when I see them wanting to do better for themselves. And I feel like maybe I should say something, but maybe I shouldn't. I don't know.
I may be the wrong person to ask, because so many times I open my mouth before I think. But one of the things that meditation teaches us, or just the practice itself, is that before you approach the person who you want to engage with, stop and think of, what am I going to say? Why am I going to say it? And maybe, what do I want to come out of this conversation? And is there any chance of it being positive? Think about that before you do it. If there's a point where someone's doing some real harm, you're going to have to do something. But you've got to help. You've got to take care of you. And if you can help them. But first off, think, what am I trying to do? What do I want to happen?
I just wanted to comment on my own strong emotions from coming to this practice, and the words of Thich Nhat Hanh, which is one of he's a great teacher. He says that we have to hold our anger or our grief or anything with like a baby. It's you don't get rid of it, and you don't stuff it away. You have to care for it tenderly, and it's a practice like Hung Su says, like the Buddha said, and that's why I keep coming back. And then with any precept or anything, we don't. It's not black and white. There's like, it's not. This is what we should do. This is what we shouldn't do. What is skillful? What is wholesome? And what is our intention behind the action? I think is very important. So I just wanted to put that out there.
And you get back to what you were saying, that baby metaphor. Perhaps look at, why is this person bringing these things up in me? Understand what's going on in you. That may even help. If that is it, William, where'd you go? Oh, would you give the mic to Gaji? He's going to read a statement for us, please. This is from the teachers of the temple. Camera.
Yes. Well, I don't want to have mic interference. I think my voice.
Well, then-
or just turn that one off, and I'll have this one on.
All right, good. Let me get out of the way.
In lieu of what has happened on April 4th from our own police department, we wanted to make a statement on Patrick Lyoya's death. The Grand Rapids Buddhist Temple sends healing energies of loving kindness and compassion to those affected by the recent shooting of Patrick Lyoya and all other victims of gun violence across our country. Lyoya and his family arrived from the Democratic Republic of the Congo in 2014 as refugees, and he leaves behind his parents, 2 young daughters, and 5 siblings. All of us can imagine the feelings of pain and suffering experienced so deeply by the families of these victims in our own heart. We do not have to be numb to this suffering or feel overwhelmed by it. We possess the capacity as compassionate human beings to transform this suffering into energy of transformation, healing ourselves and our society in the process. The Buddhist teaching on interdependence reminds us that we are all intimately connected at the most basic levels with each other, our community, our nation, our world, and even the universe. None of us exists in separation because our family, friends, society, and experiences all influence how we perceive our world. When an act of violence happens in our community, no one can escape the ripple effects. Just as a stone thrown into a pond sends out waves, unsettling the surface, so too does every act of violence create repercussions in the lives of all of us. It is easy to seek out someone to blame when a tragedy happens. But the Buddha teaches us that nothing is the result of a single act and condition. When examining this issue compassionately in our hearts, we must explore as deeply as possible with understanding and love the factors involved. At the same time, we must remember that we can never fully know or explain what happened. When we look deeply into our heart, we can feel the fear and anxiety of Patrick Lyoya, who is Black, after being pulled over last week for a mismatched license plate by a white police officer at a time when police shootings in similar situations are prevalent in the media. We can also look deeply into our hearts to feel the fear and anxiety of the police officer in this shooting. He has been influenced by his society to view men of color as a physical threat and to use deadly force in response to unexpected behavior. We also need to look deeply at our own heart and that of our own culture and see how we equate safety with the presence of deadly weapons. Many of our police departments are stocked with military-grade arsenals. Armed guards are visible in public places. Gated communities have security forces. States across the country have open carry laws, and there is a massive community gun ownership at a level unprecedented in our country's history. We must ask ourselves as a nation why we have let fear and anxiety into our heart to transform our worldview into one in which we depend on violence to resolve our disagreements and only find feelings of security by closing ourselves off from each other. As Buddhist practitioners, we are called to sow seeds of loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity in our hearts. Even when tragedy strikes us to the bone, we must remember with gratitude the gift we are enjoying in the form of this fragile human life. We must not let our equanimity be shaken by tragedy when there exists so much happiness in this world for us to cherish. We can remember that there is a deep well of support available in our Buddhist community and traditions. The Grand Rapids Buddhist Temple is a place of refuge. The Dharma Council and members are here to support anything you need in your practice. Please do not be afraid to reach out. We are here.
Kaji, you do the lights. Please prepare yourself for meditation. We bow. Just so I get this right, I am looking at my calendar. Next Sunday at 9:00, if anybody wants to be a greeter at the door, be here at 9:00 and I will show you that. And then afterwards, right after the service, if you want to help light the incense and candles before service, stick around for a few minutes and I'll show you. That'll just take just a few minutes, okay? I think that's all I have, except that we have some recovery groups that meet here. You can go on to our Facebook page, our website, and find out when they happen. That is grzen.org, right? grzen? Or zengr.org. zengr.org. I'm with the old one, I'm sorry. A Thursday morning, we have a discussion group here, meditation at 9:30, the discussion group at 10, and it meets downstairs in the community room. And I think that Kate has something important to say. You don't? Oh, Nathan is. No, Nathan, leave that and use this. That way we won't have a double. Knock it out of the way. You'll be.
Is this one turned on?
It better be, it is, yeah.
Okay. Hello. I'm Nathan Moore. Shan Liang Su is my Dharma name, and I am just here to give y'all a little reminder or heads up that this temple is entirely supported by your generous donations. If you would like to support the temple, there are dana boxes at the front and back of the temple. And Hung Su took my little thing. I was going to explain what dana was, but no, you did it perfectly. Y'all know what it is now, right? You got it. Generosity, yes. What's the greatest city in the world? Generosity. What's the greatest nation in the world? Donation. You can also visit zengr.org and you can go to the donate section there to get more information or to donate electronically. Any questions about that? Blessings and gratitude for being here. Thank you.
Robert, you didn't tell us your husband was such a wise man. Anything? Stand and we will say our closing gathas, which are on page 9. Thank you. And together we say, for all unskillful action ever committed by me since of old, born counted my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, nor my body, mouth, and thoughts. Now I atone for them all. Vast is the road of compassion, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Buddhist teachings for the benefit of all sentient beings. All beings, one body, I vow to liberate. Endless blind passion, I vow to uproot. Dharma gates without number, I vow to penetrate. The great way of Buddha, I vow to attain. And if you folk will turn this way and you folk that way, we will bow to each other. And have a great, sunny, almost warm day.
Oh, we take care of the back row cushion, but we'll keep the front row, front 2 rows.